I had to let it go, I told myself, staring at the locked bathroom door while my 7-year-old son wheezed through another coughing fit on the couch. It's just a missed interview, not the end of the world. But it was. It was the end of the world, our world. Because that promotion was the one shot I had at pulling us out of survival mode. And I'd planned everything down to the minute, until my mother said she couldn't help. Not for 2 hours. Not even for her grandson. My name is Rachel Mendez. I'm 31, a single mom living in Pasadena with my son Leo. His father moved to Oregon when Leo was 2 and hasn't looked back since. A birthday card with $20, maybe a text at Christmas if I'm lucky. That's the extent of his contribution. So it's been just me and Leo side by side ever since. I work full-time as an administrative coordinator at a logistics firm. It's not glamorous and it barely covers rent, asthma meds, and after-school care, but it's steady. And for the past 6 months, I've been grinding, taking on extra projects, staying late, saying yes to every damn thing in hopes of being promoted to operations coordinator. That promotion came with a raise big enough to let me breathe. No more grocery lists filtered through my bank balance. No more sleepless nights over school fees or expired inhalers. And last Monday, my manager finally told me the interview was set, Friday, 2 p.m. I had a plan. Leo would be at school. I'd take a long lunch, ace the interview, and be back by 3:30 like nothing happened. But by Wednesday night, the plan unraveled. Leo started coughing, not just the usual dry kind. This was the deep, seal-like bark that always meant trouble. I checked his forehead, 101.3. I knew that cough. I knew what came next. By Thursday morning, he was flushed and groggy, and I was canceling meetings to take him to the pediatrician. Sure enough, steroid prescription, strict bed rest, no school for at least 48 hours. When we got home, I tucked him in, set up his humidifier, and sat on the edge of the couch, phone in hand. I didn't want to call her, but I had no choice. My parents live about 30 minutes away in Glendale, in the same house I grew up in. My dad's retired. My mom, Carolyn, hasn't worked in years, unless you count Pilates, hair appointments, and planning her book club's wine pairings. They go to their lake cabin most weekends and post brunch selfies like they're in their 20s. They're not cruel people, just emotionally unavailable, selectively generous. But in true emergencies, they've helped before. Once when Leo had the flu, my dad came and sat with him while I ran to CVS. Another time, my mom picked him up from school when his bus was delayed. That's why I hoped, this might be one of those moments. I called. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Mom," I said, my voice low. "Leo's sick. I have my promotion interview tomorrow at 2. I just need someone to be here for 2 hours while I'm gone. I'll prep everything. He'll be on the couch watching cartoons. You won't need to do much." She cut me off with a sigh I've heard my whole life. "Oh, honey, this weekend isn't good. Your father and I are going to the Williams anniversary party on Saturday, and I've got my hair appointment Friday. You know how these things are." I paused. "It's just 2 hours, Mom. This promotion, this could change everything for Leo and me." Another pause. Then, "Well, maybe this is a sign you need to reevaluate your priorities as a mother." I blinked, like I'd been slapped. I said nothing, just hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. I called everyone else. Friends, neighbors, parents from Leo's school. But with such short notice and the words sick and asthma floating around, no one could help. I left a voicemail with Juliet in HR, asking if we could reschedule. I knew it was a long shot. Friday morning, I got the email. Andrew's schedule was packed. Decision had to be made by Tuesday. Interview Friday or not at all. That was the message. So I made a different choice. I stayed home. At 2 p.m., instead of walking into the interview room, I was spooning soup into Leo's mouth while watching reruns of Magic School Bus. He was tired. He was pale. He didn't know I'd just given up the job I'd been working toward for half a year. And I didn't let him see me cry. Saturday morning, I got a text from my mother. We're heading to the Williams party. You and Leo should come by for dinner tomorrow. I'm making pot roast." As if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't looked me in the eye, figuratively, and told me that her blowout and brunch plans mattered more than my son's care or my entire career trajectory. I stared at the message for a full minute, then turned my phone face down on the table. The next morning, I called her. Leo was watching cartoons in the background, bundled up on the couch with his favorite blanket. My voice was calm. Too calm. "We're not coming for dinner," I said. "I'm still hurt, Mom. You knew how important that interview was, and you still said no." Her voice on the other end, equal parts defensive and dismissive. "You can't expect me to drop everything every time you have a little crisis, Rachel. I raised you. Now you're raising Leo. That's how it works." I swallowed. It wasn't a little crisis. I've barely asked you for anything in the last 4 years. Maybe 5 times. But I show up for you, constantly. The TV setup last Christmas, taking Dad to his PT appointments, helping move your furniture, fixing your router when it crashed the night before your wine night. She cut me off. Those are just things family does. I was shaking, not just from anger, but from the weight of finally realizing that this conversation had been years in the making. "I think I need some space," I said quietly. "And I can't help financially right now either." That's when her tone shifted. "What?" "Well, we were hoping you could help out this month. Your father's medication costs went up, and the property tax deadline's coming up. Of course. Of course." In the same breath where she refused to acknowledge how her refusal had hurt me, she was asking for money I no longer had because of her. "I lost the promotion, Mom," I said, my voice flat. "There's no extra money this month. And honestly, I need to stop putting myself last just to make things easier for everyone else." She muttered something about how families are supposed to support each other. I hung up. Monday morning, I got the official email. The position had gone to someone else. I sat in my car during lunch and cried. Not silent, graceful tears, but the kind where your shoulders shake and you can't breathe through your nose. Then I wiped my face, walked back into the office, and trained the guy who got the job. Ronnie, fresh out of undergrad, polite, apologetic, said things like, "You totally had this down." I nodded, showed him how to set up the inventory logs, and tried not to break again. Over the next few days, the texts kept coming. "When will you send over your part for Dad's prescription? The lawn service just raised their rate again. Can you chip in? Don't forget what we've done for you over the years." What they had done for me. They'd raised me, yes. Fed me, clothed me, drove me to school and piano practice. All things parents should do. All things I do now for Leo without keeping a ledger. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every message felt like a paper cut across a bruise. Then came the kicker. "We're family, Rachel. Don't forget that. You owe us." I remember staring at that last message for a long time, the word, "oh," ringing louder than anything else. That was it. That was the core of it, wasn't it? My entire adult life had been built around this invisible debt they believed I carried. And I'd been paying interest on it for years, emotionally, financially, spiritually. That night, after Leo fell asleep, I opened my notes app and typed a message I knew I needed to send. It was short. It was clear. It ended with, "I won't be able to help financially or otherwise for the foreseeable future. I need you to respect that." Their reply came the next morning. "We're family. We're supposed to help each other." Yes, we are. But apparently that only applies when they need something from me. They went quiet for exactly 3 days. Not a word. No texts. No guilt-tripping calls. No surprise visits. For a brief moment, I wondered, hoped, that maybe they were reflecting. Maybe they were finally understanding. Maybe space was what we all needed. That illusion shattered on Tuesday evening. I was making box mac and cheese for dinner, Leo's favorite, with hot dog slices cut into little moons. He was sitting at the kitchen table, coloring planets for his solar system project. He'd been chosen to be Jupiter, the biggest one. He was proud of that. I was starting to smile again until my phone buzzed. It was from my mother. No greeting, no apology, just a screenshot of a credit card bill. $4,378.62. No explanation, just numbers circled in red. I stared at it while the cheese powder turned to paste in the pot. 20 minutes later, another message. We need help with this by Friday or the interest will go up. I put the phone down and stirred the noodles, barely registering the smell of scorched milk. I'd seen this pattern before. The emergency that always turned out to be something optional, indulgent, or preventable. The ski trip after the tight Christmas. The new car audio system that followed the emergency brake repair. I dipped into my already strained savings more times than I could count because they framed every ask as dire and every refusal as betrayal. But not this time. That night, while Leo brushed his teeth, I opened my laptop and applied to 3 new jobs. Administrative roles, some hybrid, some remote. Nothing fancy, just something stable. The missed promotion had been a slap in the face, a reminder that loyalty means nothing if you're invisible. The next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls from my dad and a voicemail. "Hi, honey," his voice said low and tight. "Call us back. This is important. Your mother's very upset." Of course she was. I didn't call. Instead, I replied to their earlier text. As I said, I can't help financially right now. Then I turned my phone on silent and took Leo to school. That afternoon, my mom sent a follow-up text, this time with a detailed explanation, or what she framed as one. She claimed the credit card debt was mostly from helping me and Leo. I stared at that message, so long my coffee went cold. Then I opened my banking app and scrolled through the past year. Let's see. A $30 Target gift card for Leo's birthday. 1 dinner at Applebee's with a BOGO coupon they mentioned 3 separate times. Hand-me-down clothes from my cousin's kid that didn't fit. In contrast, I'd sent them $800 when their water heater failed. I'd spent over $200 for Dad's birthday gift last July, a new golf rangefinder. I'd driven them to appointments, helped them switch internet providers, and set up Mom's new iPad after she said the Apple Store gave her a headache. But apparently, I was the one draining them financially. That night, I trained Ronnie on a few more processes. He was polite, still awkward, and kept saying things like, "They should have waited for your interview. You clearly had all of this down." I smiled through it. It wasn't his fault. But hearing that over and over again felt like someone was rubbing lemon juice into an open cut. During lunch, my phone buzzed again, this time with a number I didn't recognize. Thinking it might be from one of the jobs I applied to, I picked up. It wasn't. It was Aunt Lisa, my mom's sister, a woman I spoke to maybe twice a year. She launched straight into a speech. "Rachel, I don't mean to intrude, but your mom's really upset. She says you've cut them off. I just wanted to check in and see if everything's okay. You know, families should stick together," I tried to explain. I mentioned Leo's asthma, the promotion, the missed opportunity, the years of one-sided help. She interrupted. "Well, that's your side. Your mother tells me she's always been there for you." I don't remember how the call ended, only that I stared at my reflection in the office bathroom mirror 15 minutes later and didn't recognize the woman looking back. My eyes were tired, my shoulders slumped, but underneath the exhaustion, something stronger was forming. I Googled, "signs your parents are manipulative," and what I found felt like reading my own diary. Weaponized guilt, rewriting history, withholding affection when boundaries are enforced, making every ask seem like life or death. Suddenly, everything clicked. This wasn't just a rough patch. It was a cycle I'd been conditioned to accept since childhood. The job offer came on a quiet Thursday afternoon. I was sitting at my desk, eating a granola bar, answering emails with half my attention when my phone rang. A woman named Danielle from a mid-sized logistics firm in Burbank wanted to schedule an interview. The role was similar to mine, but with better pay, actual benefits, and a hybrid schedule. 3 days in office, 2 remote. My breath caught. I scheduled the interview for the following Tuesday. Plenty of time to arrange childcare. Thanks to Juliet from next door, who'd offered to help. Whenever you need, seriously. For the first time in weeks, I let myself exhale. That evening, after I picked Leo up from school and started heating up leftovers, my phone buzzed with a notification from my apartment building's resident portal. A request had been submitted to add 2 people, my parents, to my approved visitor list. I declined the request immediately and called the property manager, Ariana, to make sure there was no misunderstanding. "There's something else," she said, voice cautious. "Your mother came by earlier. Said she needed to drop off Leo's medication. When I reminded her she wasn't on the list and that you'd explicitly denied access, she got defensive." "What did she say exactly?" I asked. That as Leo's grandmother, she had rights. I thanked Ariana for standing firm and hung up with a knot tightening in my stomach. When I got home, I checked every lock, closed every blind, something I never usually did. Leo asked if we were playing a hiding game. I told him we were just making the apartment extra cozy tonight. We ordered pizza and built a blanket fort in the living room. He picked How to Train Your Dragon, and halfway through the second act, just as Toothless leapt off the cliff, a knock sounded at the door. I knew immediately. I told Leo to keep watching and stepped out, carefully closing the door behind me. They were both standing there, my mother with her oversized purse, my father with a rolling suitcase and a grocery bag that looked like it had been hastily packed. His face wore that hopeful, coaxing smile I'd seen too many times. My mother's eyes were puffy but calculating. "We thought this made more sense," Dad said, gesturing toward the hallway. "Your place is closer to our doctor's, and there's more room." "There's not more room," I replied. "It's a 1-bedroom apartment, Dad. Leo and I already share a space. And this isn't about square footage. You're not staying here." My mother's voice was quiet at first, just until things get sorted out. "A few days. That's all." "What things?" I asked. "You have a house. A paid-off house." She hesitated. "There's been a misunderstanding with the mortgage company. Our utilities were shut off because of a clerical error." I didn't laugh, but I wanted to. "You drove 30 minutes with luggage, but couldn't call first." "Our phones are about to be disconnected," she said quickly. "You texted me yesterday," I said. "From the same number." She flinched. "Go to a hotel," I said flatly. "Use the credit card you sent me a screenshot of. Or go stay with Aunt Lisa. She has a guest room." My mother's eyes narrowed. "So you're abandoning your own parents, when we have nowhere to go." "You're not homeless," I said, keeping my voice even. "You have a car, a credit card, a guest room 10 miles away." My dad changed tactics. "Leo's birthday is next month. Wouldn't it be sad if we couldn't come? No gifts, no celebration. Living in our car, the manipulation was so transparent, I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. "I'm going back inside," I said. "Leo doesn't need to hear any of this. I suggest you head to Aunt Lisa's before it gets too late." As I turned, my mother said something that made me pause. "We'll see what the police have to say about a daughter turning away her elderly parents with nowhere to go." I stopped, looked her dead in the eye. "You're not elderly. You're 61 and 63. You're not incapacitated. You're not destitute. You're choosing this path because..." I finally said no. Neither of them responded. My dad shifted his feet. My mother pressed her lips together in a tight, self-righteous line. I closed the door, locked it. Then I climbed back into the fort where Leo was now curled up under a blanket, eyes sleepy. "Was that Grandma and Grandpa?" he asked. "They just stopped by to say hi," I said softly. "They had to go to Aunt Lisa's." He nodded and went back to watching dragons soar through the sky, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking for the rest of the night. They knocked twice more that night, once around 9:30 p.m. and again closer to midnight. I didn't open the door. I watched them leave through the peephole, suitcases dragging behind them, my mother muttering something as she climbed into the passenger seat. The next morning, I woke up to a new group text from my mother. It included me, my brother David, Aunt Lisa, 2 cousins I barely spoke to, and a few other family members. The message read, "Please share this with anyone who might care." Below, it was a link to a GoFundMe titled, "Help 2 seniors stay in their home." The description was vague. Unexpected medical issues, rising costs, facing possible homelessness. Anything helps. Their goal? $155,000. There were no details. No mention of the years of reckless spending, the cruises, the new appliances, the elective home renovations. Just carefully framed victimhood. I didn't reply. David called me 30 seconds later. "Did you see this crap?" he asked. I did. They own their home. Or at least they did. "They took out a home equity line," I said, quietly. "They never told us." "Are they actually broke?" "No. They're panicking and weaponizing sympathy." He sighed. "You think we should do something?" "I already did," I said. I said no. That's something. That night, after Leo went to bed, I scrolled through the comments on the GoFundMe. Most were from strangers, people sharing prayers or words like, "No one should lose their home in retirement." A few donations trickled in, $10 here, $25 there. Nothing close to the goal, but the narrative was spreading, and the guilt was being distributed like wildfire. The next morning, Ariana from the front office called again. "I'm so sorry to bother you," she said, "but your parents came by the building again." My stomach dropped. "Did they get in?" "No. They said they needed to drop off Leo's medication. I reminded them you denied access. Your mother got insistent." My voice shook. "Did she threaten anyone?" "Not exactly, but she said she'd be back Saturday. Said she knew you'd be home." That night, I barely slept. On Saturday, Leo and I stayed inside all day. I told him it was a rainy day, even though the sun was shining. We built another blanket fort, ordered Chinese takeout. I tried to act normal. At 7:48 p.m., they knocked. This time, they had 2 additional bags. My dad smiled like we were old friends bumping into each other. My mother looked directly past me into the apartment. "I'm sorry," I said. "You can't be here." "We just need a few nights," Dad started. "No," my mother's tone turned sharp. "We're your parents. We took care of you for 18 years. And for the last 12, I've been taking care of you," I snapped. "Financially, emotionally, logistically, I've given more than I ever got. And the moment I needed help, you chose a haircut over your grandson." She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. "Go back to Lisa's, or a hotel. This is my home, not your backup plan." I closed the door. This time I didn't shake. Later that night, after Leo was asleep, my phone buzzed again. A new email. The subject line, "Final tally." It was from my dad. Inside was a spreadsheet. Dozens of rows. Clothing, food, medical appointments, school field trips. Every basic parental duty listed with a dollar value. At the bottom, total load, $197,485. There was even a section for emotional labor marked at $40,000. I stared at the screen, numb. Not angry, not even surprised, just tired. The next day, I printed the email and added it to the folder. The same folder where I kept screenshots, texts, call logs. And then I wrote a letter, certified mail, addressed to both of them. Any further attempts to contact me directly or access Leo without permission would result in legal action. It broke my heart to write it, but it broke something deeper to need it in the first place. It's been just over 6 months since they stood at my door with their luggage, asking for sanctuary under the guise of desperation. A lot has changed since then, most of it quietly, some of it permanently. Leo and I moved to a 2-bedroom apartment a few miles away, still in the same school district. It's nothing fancy, but it's ours. The first night we slept there, Leo got to pick his own bedding. He chose planets, of course. Jupiter front and center. The water pressure actually lasts longer than 5 minutes. The fridge doesn't hum like it's dying. These small things feel enormous when you've spent years juggling duct tape and anxiety. I started my new job 5 months ago. It's not glamorous, but it's solid. The promised flexibility is real. When Leo had another asthma flare-up in April, I worked from home for 3 days. No guilt trips, no awkward silences, just support. My new manager, Douglas, has kids. He gets it. We're not rich. But I don't wake up at 3 a.m. anymore wondering if I have to choose between groceries and medicine. That kind of peace? I didn't know it was allowed. As for my parents, silence mostly. At first, they tried everything: group texts, voicemails, even a birthday card for Leo signed from the grandparents who never stopped loving you. But when I didn't respond, they turned to what David calls the family PR tour. Suddenly, I was the villain in every relative's inbox. Aunt Lisa called, then my cousin Michelle, then my dad's bowling buddy of all people, all echoing the same line: "They're struggling, Rachel. Can't you just talk to them?" But something had shifted in me. Not just boundaries, but the belief that I was finally allowed to have them. I started therapy around that time. My new insurance covers it. My therapist, Dina, is calm, curious, and terrifyingly insightful. She helped me trace the patterns I couldn't name before. The way I was taught to believe love must be earned, that saying no was betrayal, that being useful was the only way to be worthy. The real turning point, though, came in March. Leo's school called me. Someone had come to pick him up, claimed it was for a doctor's appointment. I'd forgotten to update his pickup list, so they'd called to confirm. It was my mother. She was in the school parking lot. I dropped everything. When I arrived, she and my dad were sitting in their car, windows rolled down, waving at Leo from a distance. When I confronted them, she said, "We just wanted a little time with our grandson." I handed the school a printed copy of every boundary they'd crossed, every incident documented. They tightened security protocols. I sent my parents a final, certified letter. No contact, no exceptions. Any violation will result in legal consequences. That was the last time they tried anything direct. But it wasn't the end. 2 weeks ago, my dad called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to know. His voice was different, less performative, more unsure. He told me my mom had started seeing a therapist. After months of getting nowhere with guilt or manipulation, she'd had a health scare, minor but enough to shake her. Her doctor had recommended counseling for stress. She'd been going for 6 weeks. She's learning things, he said, about herself, about the way she treated you. I didn't speak. He didn't ask me for money. He didn't demand forgiveness. He just said they wanted to rebuild slowly on my terms. I told him I'd think about it, and I meant it. Since then, we've exchanged 2 emails. I've sent pictures of Leo, a few school updates. There's been no pressure for more. I'm cautious. Dina says time will tell. Change is easy to claim and hard to prove. And part of me still flinches when I see my mom's name pop up on my screen. But there's something else too, a kind of quiet. Not peace exactly, but space. Space to be a mother, a worker, a woman who isn't constantly pulled in 8 directions by ghosts of obligation. Leo still asks about them sometimes. I tell him the truth, gently. That love is real, even when people make hurtful choices. That it's okay to love someone and still keep your distance. That being family means showing up, not just saying the word. And when he asked if Grandma would be at his birthday party next month, I told him, not this year, maybe one day. And I meant that too.